right, so before we jump into this one-on-one to talk about your new season, let's cheers to you first, because ultimately you just wrapped season 4 of Before Brunch TV. So grab our glasses, because I mean, after all, it is Before Brunch. So cheers to that.
You know I don't do well on the side of the camera. It's very weird to me.
I was thinking that of myself. You're not normally on the opposite end of the sofa, right? Normally you're the interviewer and not the interviewee. So with that, let's talk a little bit, or let's start first with your thought process and how you wanted to approach this season. Because I know ultimately you took a little hiatus, but that was intentional. And in taking that intentional break, help share with us some of your thoughts on why the break, what you needed to get in order, and maybe even talking a little bit about this amazing location that we're in.
I took a lot of hiatus. You're being very kind. It's been 2 years since I did the last season of Before Brunch, and I think it was intentional and non-intentional. My last season I did in March 2021, and it was just like, I was at a time in my life I had to like prove something to myself, like, you can still do this, you still got this, like. And then I just, like, life was life, and I was just going through a lot of personal things, and I just did not have the confidence to actually pull this off. I actually scheduled another filming of this last year 2 different times and canceled 2 different times because I just wasn't feeling like myself. I didn't feel like doing it. And I feel like if I'm creating a show that's about authenticity and showing up as the best version of yourself, or showing up where you are, I could not put something out and not be like the real version of myself, and I didn't want to put something out just for the sake of putting something out. And so I did beat myself up a lot, like, man, it's been 2 years. People are asking, like, oh, you used to have a TV show. I was like, no, I still have a show. I just haven't done it yet. And so I finally had the opportunity to film this season. Everything just flowed so beautifully, even to this amazing space that we got to use called the Bee's Needs. It's a compound of like 5 pink houses that are beautifully decorated, and it just felt right, like meeting the owner of the space, and she's like, hey, if you ever need anywhere to film, please let me know. And she kept up on that promise, and I reached out to guests, and everybody was available, and literally pulled this off within probably like 3 to 4 weeks. And the whole production team, who I've been using the same people since the first season, and it's just been like such a blessing. So I'm happy to have, yes, checked it off my list, but trying to be very intentional. In a lot of actually previous seasons, we were so focused on like the fashion and like the makeup and the hair, and which is still an important part, but I highlighted that less this year and didn't do like a whole fashion segment, because I'm like, oh, the outfits are cool, but I want to focus more on the content and just creating just really meaningful conversation and really engaging in that. So I focus less on that, and just like, y'all gonna see my hair gonna look the same every episode, might put it up, put it down. My makeup's gonna look the same every single episode. I just didn't care about that stuff. I just wanted really good content and really good guests.
So hearing a little bit about your thought process, you scaled down on the superficial stuff. You're like, look, we're done with the superficial stuff, and let's focus more about the actual organic content and connecting with the people, the hearts and minds of your audience. So since we're in that lane, let's talk about the topics that you're exploring this season. Let's get into some of that.
Yeah, so the topics this season, we did one on just like people who are creative, and creative specifically here in Virginia. Like, this is a huge creative outlet, but we don't necessarily get that recognition like the New Yorks and the DCs and the LAs, and just talking with creatives who are doing amazing things. We did an episode about Black men and body image, which is huge because you don't ever hear Black men publicly talking about how they feel about themselves and what their insecurities are. Did an episode of women in the military. There's a whole other side to women in the military, aside from, hey, this is your rank, this is who you are showing up in your fatigues. Let's talk about like who you are as a woman. We did an episode on taking leaps of faith. We also did an episode about, I'm trying to think, I planned them on, I'm trying to think through what the other episodes are. I'm going blank, but we have 2 more episodes this season. So usually I film 10 episodes in 2 days, and this year we just did 6. And I just really, so I'll probably do like a season 4 part 1 and then a season 4 part 2, because I really just wanted to take my time and honestly not burn myself out. Because you've been here on these seasons when we be here for like 12 hours in a day, and it's exhausting. And I'm in a season and coming into a season where I don't want to be burnt out anymore.
One thing I'm hearing, a reoccurring theme, which I know you're known for, Stephanie, is the women empowerment piece. Like, I know you carved out conversation for the fellas, which again, being a guy, I'm grateful for. But what I'm noticing is a trend in a lot of your themes and your guests that it's about women supporting women. So would you mind expounding on that a little more and why that's so important, even down to this space? Because I do believe the owner of the space is also a woman as well. Correct?
Yeah, I'm such a girl's girl. I'm an only child. I have a daughter, and I think just women supporting women is so impactful, and there's been so many women in my life who have helped me even get to where I am. And so I'm very intentional about the people that I use, the spaces that I'm in. As you mentioned, every season I have used a venue that is owned by a woman. Wow. And so like down my first season, my second and third season, and now this season, like just thinking through all of that is really important for me. And it's so funny because my entire crew is nothing but black men. I'm like, put the men to work. Y'all gonna watch the ladies sit and enjoy and drink champagne. No, but like in all seriousness, even outside of that, like just talking to you and the crew afterwards, like, oh, I didn't know that about women. I'm learning. Like, I think even having these conversations and having men around helps like everybody understand each other, because men and women are so different, and not even in the romantic sense, but in the friendship and platonic base. Like, it's just a learning lesson all around. And just like so many women are going through the same things. We all show up and look well, but there's a lot of crap that's happening behind all of this. And I think just creating these spaces where women don't feel alone, it's just always been my mission and goal.
Speaking of what you said earlier about creating safe spaces and being intentional about that, I think the intersectionality of the fact that your show is primarily focused on women. However, the fact that you do have a all-male staff, but I think something that's important to underscore is that it's not only all male, but we're black men. And I think with you being a creator, I don't think that that's happenstance that you have black men specifically as your staff. Can you explore or kind of just talk more or delve more into the importance of that and why that matters, especially when you're doing a show that caters to women?
Yeah, so having a crew of all black men is so important, because when you think about production sets, you never really see black men running things. I mean, unless you're at the top, like already, like a Tyler Perry or a Lee Daniels or any of these incredible people, you don't see that, especially here at the local level. And so whenever I get the chance to bring anybody that I have worked with into a space, I will do that. And plus, I feel comfortable. Like, we've all been working together for 10 plus years. And so whether it's doing on a set for a celebrity or even here just doing my show, it's really important not only to have representation, but also people I feel comfortable with, people who know me, and like we work together. We don't take stuff personally. It's like, yo, this is like about helping each other grow. And it makes me really emotional thinking about it, because we all have been through such a journey together. We've all experienced a lot of things individually and together. But it's important for me when my guests walk in and see, oh, like, these are all people who can do this, and maybe like they'll get a booking off of this too. So it's not just about me, it's about like everybody.
Yeah, and I appreciate that part of who you are and what you bring to the table. And so in conclusion, I just want to wrap it up with one final question. And this question is more centered around the idea, or not even the idea, because it's the reality of you being a mother. And I know how mindful you are about what you put out, right? The content you put out, even down to your Instagram, you're like, I'm a mother first, right? And foremost. So with that, with this season, if you're, if Ari is looking at this season and reflecting on the journey her mom is going on, what would be the one thing you want her to take away from it? And not just Ari, but all little girls who are like Ari, watching a woman of color who is a boss doing what they do. What would be one thing you want them to take away?
Let me tell you, I think sometimes it is hard putting out stuff and doing stuff as a mom. And I'm very thoughtful, and I care about the images I put out there. Because sometimes I be like not wanting to give up and wanting to do stuff and put stuff out there, but I have to remember, like, ooh, she's going to see that. And there are things I actually would like to talk about and like to share, and I don't, because I'm like, oh, she might watch this one day, or she doesn't need to know this about whomever. Like, there are things I withhold, because I have to remember that, like, stuff lives like forever and ever and ever. Especially today. But I think more so even with wanting her to know, I bring her here. Like, so she came on set and was able to see and watch me work, and not knowing that, oh, mommy's not just at home because she's out. Like, oh, she's out working. She's out trying to make a difference. And I wanted her to know, like, she's surrounded by so many other powerful women. Like, my friends watch her, they have her around, I bring her to dinner, and like, I just want her to know the power of friendship and the power of positive influence. Like, I hope that's something that I'm always able to show her, and the power of just collaboration. You don't even have to be a woman for that. It's like the power of collaboration and putting other people in position to win. Like, you will never lose.
Well, with that being said, it's about creating space. And cheers to you for walking the talk, because not everybody's doing it.
And cheers to you for always being a great support system. So I appreciate you.
And again, for you all, y'all don't know, this is an honor because she trained me. So for me to be interviewing the teacher, I was like, oh wow, this is new. So
again, I appreciate becomes master.
So I appreciate this, and cheers.